the water level changed so much in one night of prep that we lost a tent.
No.
You came in the morning and the tent was already unreachable.
Hey Hearties, welcome to Heart to Hearties, the official show and podcast of this lovely fandom. I'm Chelsea from Puerto Rico.
I'm Kim from Barrie, Ontario.
I'm Marg from San Diego.
So today we have the man everyone turns to bring storytelling to our screens, the production manager on both When Calls a Heart and Hope Valley 1874, Mike Magnusson. Welcome back. Woo!
Thank you very much for having me back.
Thank you so much for being with us. And so you manage so many departments to make these shows happen. And with shooting the prequel on the heels of filming season 13 of When Calls a Heart, you did 2 series back to back. And Hearties want to know, when are you getting a day off?
Today is actually my last day. We had the final in-office day for 1874. They're into post-delivery now, with at least the logistics of on set are done and everything's put to bed for the season. So yes, I get a break. I'm very grateful to have a break and very grateful for the season behind us.
Very well deserved. Very well deserved.
Well, we have a host of questions about both shows, Mike. But let's start with When Calls the Heart. The big fire this season had to have been really challenging, not only technically, but because so many new characters and extras were introduced as the Benson Hills evacuees. So talk to us about accommodating all these new faces in Hope Valley.
Yeah, reading that first script was like, wow, there's a big forest fire. And just that was a tremendous navigation, especially for our director in Block 1, Mike Roll. We're not an action show. We're 6.5 day episodic. It doesn't get tighter than that. We make big things of little things. You know, we're buying a postcard, but there are no good postcards to find. Suddenly we're burning down the forest and we're rescuing kids in 2 different locations and we're riding out in jeopardy. And, we're not really budgeted for that tremendous scope. So it took a great deal of everybody digging in and figuring out, how do we frame this? How do we supply this action? How do we put this together? And how do we put it together in an editable fashion?
Yeah.
But Mike Roll did an amazing job. We use a technique called split screen, where we will bring the cast in one part of the frame, but then in the other part of the frame, it will be barren it'll be trees or something that we prescribe will be put on fire in visual effects. But we have to keep them somewhat separated, because anytime these 2 worlds cross over, we end up in much more expensive visual effects milieu, and it takes longer. It requires rotoscoping, it requires creating and tracking a 3D environment. So it had to be really well planned for plate shots and actor action. And then, of course, in the second script, oh my gosh, we burned down Benson Hills and they're all coming to Hope Valley, which added pressure for background and also scope. It's a very big opening. So, Mike Roll's got to service the stunts and the safety and the VFX and the practical fire effects. And we're doing these fire effects, even the tight, small fire effects that we did during a fire ban. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through to be properly permitted to do that. And then we get into the refugee stuff. And, that's trucks and Model Ts and wagons and horse teams and tons of background and continuity, because it flows in a sequence, and we're, bringing them in to the town, and then we're having them arrive at the refugee things, and, we're going to be editing all that. So we can't have people back to back swapping out. So there's a great deal, and none of that shoots consecutively. So it's a lot for the crew at all levels: costumes, hair, makeup, who looked like what, who was wearing what props did these people have for the assistant directors coordinating background, who was where and when. We had a lot of moving parts in these early scenes in When Calls. There were, I remember scene 9 where we introduced the stoplight. It was really kind of 8 scenes in one. There and a lot of moving parts. You have the Mounties riding in. You have the Cavan at the podium talking about the introduction of the traffic light. Minnie and Elizabeth have a beat. Bill and McGinty have a beat. Allie and Oliver have a beat. Nathan and Elizabeth have a beat. And all of this happens in this, five and a half,
Rosemary with
6 page
her
scene. Yeah. It
Rosemary with
was,
her funny, yeah,
it
car
was, it
scene.
was,
Lucas and Edie, yeah.
yeah, it was a big season on When Calls Art 13. Beautiful
Wow.
stories, though. And our directors did an amazing job of pulling it off in the 13 days that they're given. An amazing job.
You had to have been proud to see that come together, though, because not just the visual effects, which I have no idea how you pulled that off with our budget, but also that, the refugee evacuees arriving scene is really very moving, and it did have that kind of epic feel to
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
wow.
Solid planning. Solid
Yeah.
planning to camera. And that's everybody. That's Mike Roll, the ADs, even the trainee assistant director or on-set third assistant director who are helping set that background and keep it flowing and make sure that it's, believable in the frame. And then the background themselves, they have to show up and not be smiling. And they have to have that sort of, I've lost everything feel. And somebody has to
Right.
impart to them that this is what you're doing in this moment. So collectively, it's a creative triumph for everybody.
Agreed.
Well, it really came across to all the Hearties.
Yeah, it did.
They were amazed this season by everything that they saw.
Yeah.
In episode 3, then we had the field day for all the kids at the school, and we loved all the various angles that you shot in order to get that, and all the different, I don't know, activities. It was amazing. So can you tell us about that?
Well, it started with the set. And it's funny that side of the church, which was sort of the most beautiful to do it, is tends to get a little bit swampy sometimes because it's right
Yeah.
next to the pond and it's a low part at the
Right.
back end. So we had to do some sod replacement. We also had to figure out what activities go there that will work after we've
Mm.
done that. And Anna Kim did an amazing job, and Sarah Maberly with our designer did an amazing job of laying out this really period appropriate obstacle course that just looked fun. I mean, even the crew standing around was like, I want to give this a shot. Um,
Running
and there
around
were a
with
lot of little
Did
Thailand.
last
I
they?
minute
love it.
things
Did
because
they?
it did rain that day, so the grass was wet.
Oh no.
So there were lots of little last minute things and additions to keep the kids' costumes clean, to show the kids you don't want to knee it out of this thing. You want to come out of this thing crawling so that, you're not dirtying up your costumes because we're going to be here all day doing this. And then Elise Lee Rogers, the director, did a brilliant job of pre-planning how she's going to. We had it pre-built so that she had an understanding of what the layout was, and she came in very well planned on how to catch those because that stuff can end up looking clunky if it isn't shot right.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it looked dynamic, and it looked like the kids were having fun, and yeah, she really put that together brilliantly.
It's really something to think about, though, both in what you said with, these are non-speaking actors to a large extent coming in to a new environment. And first of all, they have to look like they've lost everything for that evacuee scene. And then the children also have to convey that in the schoolhouse. But then also a little fun, whether it be a magic show or an obstacle course. It's a pretty tall order, I would think, for
And
brand new people.
with the kids, we're very fortunate. Erin is always amazing with the children. She's always, they look to her, the boys and girls alike. Um, uh, she's, it's amazing the energy that she maintains, lifting them up and making sure that they're engaged and being their teacher, on set through the day. Yeah. Another example if we get there together.
What a spectacular mom she's going to be, having been a mom on this set for so long. She's taken care of so many.
And being surrounded
Her,
by kids throughout all these years.
yeah,
Amazing.
her and Ben are the kindest human beings, and both old and good souls. That child is being born into a very fortunate circumstance.
I love it.
That's lovely. The attention to detail continued on. It amazed us all this year. And there was so much in both Oliver's birthday party and the silent movie shoot So which of those stick out in your mind and why?
Oh, the silent movie shoot. I mean, we can do a
Yeah.
party. We
Right.
we do we do
Do
Always
you know
do
parties
a
3
all
or
the
good
4
time.
parties
party.
a
Yeah.
year. We do
Every
parties with
season we get a
yeah.
good party. Yeah.
We do parties regularly with anywhere from,
Yeah.
26 to 34 cast.
Yeah.
Uh, parties we're really good at. Silent movie was a whole new thing to bite off.
Yeah.
And the props department and costumes and our director of photography, they all did a brilliant job, and our post department, Heather and Evan in our post department, all did a brilliant job of sort of biting in and figuring out, okay, this is what the toys and the people look like. And I mean, you come onto a film set nowadays, we're all like decked out in Arc'teryx or, we're in gear.
Yeah.
Back in
Yeah.
the day, in the 20s, all these guys
Yeah.
wore suits. The grips,
Right.
the electrics, all these guys were dressed up to go to work. So that added a whole layer to the amount, to the crew, because
Gosh.
they all had a little bit more presentation, which was era specific and appropriate. Uh,
So
and then the
cool.
DP dug into what the
Right.
black and white was going to look like, and how we were going to shoot that so that it came across. And makeup dug in on, well, you know what? They didn't use red lipstick because that just looked black. They used green lipstick and all these little tricks that they did differently to
Oh.
do things for the black and white presentation of the movie within a
So
movie.
fun.
We got a camera, so there's remarkably rare cameras. We had two choices of where to get a camera. One was from a museum in the East Coast that had never shipped it before, and we were like, oh, that's not going to work out. And the other one was coming from the US, and of course, this is when all the tariff craziness and you just didn't know if something was going to get across the border or not. We got the one from the US, from a cinematography institute in the US. It was a pretty significant rental, but boy, was it ever the centerpiece of shooting
Mm-hmm.
the movie. And then all the rest of the stuff we sort of made ourselves. So fortunately, the big lights haven't changed much in 70 years. So we just got a couple of old school big guns, and they look just like the ones from the time. And then we built some
Cool.
things. But yeah, there were times I was taking photos on set because it was like a movie within a movie. It was like a really interesting little world and a really interesting little first full circle connection for all of the
Yeah.
crew. To see the cast now being the crew and the stars in their own little movie. It was brilliant. The movie within a movie was a lot of fun.
I love
can
that for
imagine.
you guys. That's just cool. I really
Right?
love that. Yeah.
Also in this season, there's a drone shot in episode 11 of the judge's office before we head into what's happening
Yeah.
in the judge's office and setting the scene for the trial. And I really liked it. I always like whenever there's a new way. Like, oh, I was like, oh, this is different. This is a drone shot. So tell us about using the drone.
So you're going to see some drone work in 1874. We don't use a drone very often in When Calls the Heart because in a lot of the scenes in When Calls the Heart, we're tied to the town or we're bushwhacking in a forest. We use a drone much in when you're in a forested area. In the town, in the many times that we've used the drone in the town, one of the drawbacks is we have very wide streets. Part of the accommodation of having the 13-foot wide streets was when they originally designed the town, they were like, well, hey, if a Model T is parked, and we have, the set dress with Model Ts or something parked. How much room does a lift take to get around the Model T without having to, dance everything? And so they kind of built with that in mind, which really was good thinking for our set logistics. But it's so wide that when you get above it with a drone, the streets have more presence almost than the buildings. Everything's so far apart. So every drone shot you get
Right.
just doesn't quite feel cinematic. It feels wonky in a way.
Yeah.
And we've had, some difficulty shooting the town with a drone. Martin Wood has a drone and is very good at sort of figuring out where can I get a usable piece with a drone shot, using a small drone and, sort of carrying a cinematic line that I wouldn't be able to carry if I was on a ground-based camera system. And he's really good at it. So that was Martin Wood's pre-planning, and he might have even operated that. It's quite possible Ron Bigelow, our drone op, might have done that as well. They kind of interchange. And there's some beautiful shots on 1874 coming that we did with the drone. We had the drone out in a few blocks on that episode.
Yeah,
Sure.
and I feel like
Nice.
that drone shot of the judge's office, I think it also accentuated the what was happening, which was a
It was the right
serious.
spot for it.
Yes,
Trade
yes. So
Trial
I
reaction,
feel
and
like
definitely.
it really fit with what was happening. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Martin
Um,
Wood, our director. So most directors will shot list. Kristen Lehman shot list, Leslie Rogers shot list, Mike Roll shot list. Martin Wood does something that he calls a dream sheet. And he's done this as long as I've known him. He does this on every movie he does. But it is a shot list that tells a story. And it's called his dream list. And like all director shot lists, it is very ambitious, but he knows exactly where he can compromise in any of these given sort of wish lists. Um, but then he couches it. The whole thing tells a story, his shot list, using like film trivia that some of it you have to look up. It's so brilliant. And parodies of casts and parodies of circumstances. So you're not just reading a dry shot list. When you're reading Martin's dream list, you're entertained through all of it. But also by the time you get to the end of it, you know exactly how he's going to capture a show.
Wow.
love it.
the genius of Martin Wood.
They all have
Absolutely.
genius in their own way. They
Yeah.
all apply it differently. I
They're all
don't think
so
any
good.
of our directors lack genius. They're all amazing. We're really
They're so good.
fortunate.
Something that Hearties have been missing and asking about: Scout, Pal the Pony, Sargeant. What can you tell us? Because Hearties love these animals.
We had Scout. I think we had Scout in an early episode, but unfortunately, and we're very cognizant when we're planning action for the dog that they'll script one thing and then we'll come back and say, well, I'm sorry, he doesn't really know how to cha-cha, but he can fetch and return. He can do this, he can do that, and they're very flexible with this. Okay, well, these things work.
Mhm.
And then we kind of compartmentalize him. But he had one beat where he had to jump into a wagon. And he strained a leg jumping into the wagon, and then we weren't really in a position where we could work him again, and we don't have a double for Scout. So Scout had to take a vacation.
Oh.
But I see Scout coming back because it is, the animals are a big part of the show. Pal the Pony was part of a journey for LJ, and it's not that Pal the Pony went away, but they went on a bit of a different journey with LJ this year. LJ did a lot of his exploring, and I mean Marco Polo type exploring this year. He was out in the field a bunch of times with Allie and with the family, and he went and climbed a tree, which was like a whole thing. Um, and then ended up climbing up the water tower with Nathan at the end for his heroic beat. He had a great journey this year, but yes, missing some of the animals. Sergeant's a lovely horse. Aaron didn't ride much this year. We kind of had the static couple of sequences of her and Nathan riding, where we try and pull romantic beats, but it's an interesting counterintuitive construct, but the two of them riding, through the sunlight and dappled light of the forest or whatever, and having a conversation and talking, or even just walking horses and having a conversation and talking, is very challenging to camera to capture. To hold them, to have the horses at the same level, to have them at the right height so that, one isn't suddenly taller than the other just based on the size of the horse, or the horse being in a depression and the other horse isn't. It's a very complicated thing to present what would be a romantic beat between the two beautifully. So we try and do things like ride into it or get pieces of riding. And then we have static moments where they're together on the horses and talking, or the horses are to the side and they're holding each other and talking. And these are really just so that these moments can be much better serviced to camera and to the beats that the two of them need to play without having to fight the logistics of camera to the horses and all of those moving parts.
You mentioned LJ and the way that his story arc ended in this season. So we've heard a lot about the water tower in the season finale, and it was epic. But also the balloon release in episode 12, it was so beautiful. It was one of my favorite moments of the entire season. So talk to us about tackling such an epic and cinematic finale.
We fixed the balloon release with a little bit of VFX. So Kristen Lehman had just an intensely stacked block
She
in
did.
block in our last block 6, which included that. She had um and Sammy Galley was ready for two flights of these balloons. And in the first flight of the balloons, the kids weren't paying attention. They weren't listening. They were having fun. I mean, we're shooting a party sequence. And they got their lines crossed, and the balloons didn't quite release in the manner that we wanted. But Kristen had, so we, in this block, we have a construct of, we have a great deal of exterior work. And it's, November. The weather is crap. We have a 40 to 60% chance of torrential downpour on any given day. And we already have a proposal and a kid climbing the water tower, both of which the proposal absolutely has to be pivoted into good weather. And we did that by moving schedule to pivot it into good weather. But at the start of the block, it was like, we're going to buy you at least 2 days of good weather for festival. We'll figure that out. But we did build the festival with cover and tents just in case. And we'll definitely put the proposal in good weather. And hopefully LJ climbing the tree and LJ climbing the tower will get plausibly good weather for that. It might be overcast, but we couldn't have overcast for the proposal because then they're in dead light and they're up there backed by gray. Has to be sunlight. So we have to put that in the perhaps one of 3 days that we're going to get a sunlight in the whole 13-day block. And shoot to that. So the balloon release on the day, the kids crossed their lines and it didn't quite go as planned. And Kristen just did not have the time to reset this whole effect, get all the kids tied off to balloons again, and roll the dice on whether or not they're going to listen and they're going to get in concert, get it right. So our producer, Vicky Sutherland, and Heather Nevin, they figured out through VFX how to take what we had and make it work for this beautiful release. And they did a brilliant job of fixing what didn't go right on set. And we could have reshot it. We could have done parts of the release as a reshoot, but that wouldn't have seemed together as well as the VFX fix that they did.
It looks great.
Kids
Yeah.
and balloons,
I love hearing that about Vicky and Heather too, because Vicky's the quiet presence that we know looms very large over all of this, and it's just amazing to hear how she's working.
Vicky's thunderously quiet.
Yes.
I mean, we had a lot of challenges over both shows, and she doesn't yell, she doesn't get short with people. She just knows exactly what she's talking about, and she breakwaters. And in the case of 1874 in a season 1, it's like ice breaking, breakwatering. The many differing opinions and the many differing pieces and elements of input from the storm, and she does a tremendous job of both wearing that onslaught and directing it in a manner that insulates production and the writing team, and to a great degree Hallmark and MPCA from what is a maelstrom. And she keeps this concert going in a very brilliant manner. I want to be Vicky when I grow up.
Oh, and vice versa, I'm sure. But she's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're grateful for what she does.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And continuing the line of the season finale, one of the most memorable and surprising moments for me and so many Hearties was the arrival of Abigail in that season finale. So what were the logistics behind the scenes to keep Lori's filming like top secret?
Well, we kept a lot of secrets last year. Proposing on the water tower was a huge secret. The reconfiguration of the water tower was a huge secret. We held the candle for Lori Loughlin for so long, and so many cast. Martin Cummins, Aaron, the whole cast. Like Lori was part of the family and a working actress. I mean, she would show up. We missed her. There's no question. I remember when she came back, and it was difficult to get her back. We actually ended up bringing her back on a day when we were down from 1874 and just shooting her specifically that day with our crew. And we had built a couple of sets to shoot her in. She was so missed. It was so funny. So when we lost Lori, I was still a first AD. It was my last season of being a first assistant director on the show. So we're in the hair makeup wagon, and this is the day that she came back, and Lori wanders up into the hair makeup wagon, and she's a tiny little. Well, I'm a big guy, but she's a tiny little thing. Um, and it was so nice to see her back and big as herself again, because it's only when you're standing, it's like meeting Tom Cruise. You're surprised at how this big presence is such a tiny little thing. Uh, but she's in the makeup trailer with Jill Timos and Pam Anslu, who have been there since the beginning and were there when she left. And Andrew Tran, who was a third AD when she left and is now a second AD. Myself, who was a first AD. And it was like time hadn't even passed, but it's been years and years and years. And it was really nice to just let her know, welcome home. And we've never let the candle go out. And it's just the most wonderful thing to have you back. And it's going to be great to have her back in the stories. I think it gives us a lot of directions that we can go in. She was missed. She's so good at what she does. Abigail is such a great character. And she was, as the judge, once upon a time, very linchpin to the way they scripted the show. Like Lori had a little bit of every pie. Aaron's confident, the Rosemary and Lee's confident, Bill's confident. She was the connective tissue that brought so many of these stories into cohesiveness and kept them together and linked. And when we lost her, it was difficult for a while to figure out, and John Tinker was brilliant at that, but how to make all of those transitions and maintain that sort of cohesive connective tissue, but without our linchpin. They sort of had to rediscover a way to write the show without that, and a way to reconnect things without that sort of nice connective piece of tissue, the judge and Abigail pulling everything together. So yeah, it's going to be great to have her back.
We can't wait.
So excited.
We can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh my gracious. And it's so true. The Hearties have had a candle in the window for so long, and we've done a lot of campaigns over the years, to Hallmark, to beg that she come back. And so it does feel like a tremendous triumph, but it's so gratifying to hear about that moment, Mike, just getting to know each other again. And
it was just a wonderful first full circle moment.
Yeah. I can
like
only
the
imagine
band back together. It was great.
Emotion for her too. Must have been a huge day. There was a moment at the launch event that we had that Hallmark hosted in LA a few weeks ago when Bethany Joy Lenz said that she had called Aaron to ask about what it's like to work in Jamestown and should she embark on this series and all that. And there was just this beautiful moment where she's describing, what Aaron says was going to change her life forever. And this passing down of knowledge.
When this offer came on the table, I called Erin, and she and I have known each other for a while, and I gave her a buzz and said, "Hey, what's the deal? How does this go? What's it like down there? Give me the lowdown."
What did she say?
It was a long conversation, but it was great. I feel like I really got a sense of. I think the takeaway was that the community there is so solid, and what you guys have built is so meaningful. And if we have a chance to do something like that, that it'll change my life, and it'll be something that'll forever alter the course of my life, my daughter's life, and how I see the world. It's a really beautiful thing when you have a chance to bond the way that casts do when they are on a show for a very long time, as all of you can attest. So that made me excited to take this step.
And it occurs to me that you're such a keeper of that passing down of the knowledge, and then it really falls to you. So often you're the person who's bringing that continuity and passing on of knowledge as showrunners change, as newcomers, come to the set. I just wonder what wisdoms you might have shared with Joy Gregory as she embarked as a new showrunner this year, or to anybody, whether it was Joy or any newcomer this year.
I don't need to tell the showrunner much. My job is to wait to see what comes on the page,
Mm.
And if there's anything on the page, it's just like, impossible to make that known right away. But generally they, work within the realm of, okay, that's only a minor miracle, and I think we can do that. Let's dig in and figure out how. Joy joined us in season 12. She inherited a full plate and she did a tremendous job with it.
Great.
And season 13, having her start fresh, holding the reins. She's a very good writer. She brought in David Gray, another very good writer. And they produced some really brilliant scripts. Joy was very responsive to the needs of both directors and to the needs of production where it made sense. She also had good chops for a showrunner to be able to say, you know what, no, that stays. Because creatively, collectively, we feel we need that. And then it's like, okay, well, then we'll figure out a way to get over that hurdle, and we'll make sure that happens. That's our job. Yeah, she's great.
All right, so shifting to 1874, just like I feel like some mud should now come into the camera to reflect the change. All right, let's start with Golden Ears, which was your offsite shoot. When I initially heard about it, I thought, oh, they're just going to do that. There's just going to be a couple scenes there by the water with the stagecoach. But no, as the more we watch, there's more Golden Ears gorgeousness and more amazing scenes. So talk to us about how you did that.
We spent 2 days for block. We spent 3 days for Golden Ears in block one just to establish it. Golden Ears, there's a whole counterintuitive thing at play here. When you think about the Lower Mainland, and we went through this with LJ climbing a tree on Wencalls. There's 10,000 trees in that property. You walk for 5 hours and not find a tree somebody can climb because the branches are too high. Well, river systems. We thought there are 1,000 river systems in the Lower Mainland here within a stone's throw. We're easily going to be able to find one that has like a plausible area for a prospector's camp and, right access and it's cinematic. And we were getting nervous. We went through 5 double-side pages of river systems. We wandered through North Van. We wandered through everywhere. Can't go to Squamish. There's a lot of good areas up there, but as soon as you get past Lions Bay, you need snow tires, and the majority of the crew wouldn't have that. There's the transportation problems. And we couldn't go. There's another great area out near the Virtue Ranch, but that's near Abbotsford. And again, there's one hotel within 30 minutes of there, only 26 rooms. Crew's going to need accommodation. Where do we put everybody else? So we're left in sort of the Vancouver Lower Mainland Central area. Hundreds of river systems, 5 pages worth that we scouted. Some of them, you're walking 40 minutes from the base camp. You're still seeing buildings on one side. And the parks guys just smiling, saying, yeah, depending on what kind of atmospheric river comes, you might have this sandbar here, you might not. Probably not in the winter. And it's like, what are you even doing here? So we went everywhere until we finally got to Golden Ears. Golden Ears, the North Beach River system, which we use for block 1, borders on a dam. So even though access is a bit of a wild card, there was a show that had some equipment trapped there for 5 weeks last year, and we had some excitement while we were shooting there. I can tell that story in a minute. But North Beach is backs on a dam, so at least if water reaches sort of high or catastrophic levels, they will release some, and at least there is a control, a mitigation on this whole water system. So we have a good chance of being able to shoot here and not have it completely change like many of the places where we revisited. And it's like one day, oh, this is perfect. And then you come back a week later when it's on your short list and you're like, oh my God, this is 50 feet of raging water. Where did a perfect go?
Oh no.
So North Beach didn't have that. Golden Ears. So we fall in love with North Beach. And we're like, great, we're going to go to North Beach. Golden Ears. And then the parks comes back and says, yeah, well, after January 1st, it's toast. We're going to be rebuilding all the roads and excavating. And so North Beach isn't available after January 1st. And we're like, why did you let us fall in love with this? So then we go to Gold Beach, which is also in Golden Ears in the same park, about another 20 minutes into the park. And it's a similar beach, but it's not the same beach. And it certainly doesn't fit what's scripted. Because what's scripted is the prospectors are at one beach, but we have to have this whole discussion. Look, we can't They're both beautiful spots. They're both going to work for what we need for a prospector camp, and we don't have a choice. We want to establish North Beach because it has a lot of pieces that work for Block 1, and we love it. And by the time we get to the end of Block 2, when we're going back to Golden Ears to shoot Block 2 and 3, and then ultimately 4, we're going to be at Gold Beach, but hey, it's a gold rush. They found gold somewhere else and they moved.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
They're very transient, as Tom says.
Yeah.
And Alfonso was very forgiving. I mean, we were painted into a corner and he made that part of the story. And so, yes, we shot North Beach in Block 1. In Block 1, we had 3 back-to-back atmospheric rivers. The water level changed so much in one night of prep that we lost a tent.
No.
You came in the morning and the tent was already unreachable without water safety, which we didn't have for nobody goes in the water. It's fine. When we get there, we'll have water safety and we can hire a guy who'll go out into diving. And by the time we went out to actually get it, 5 days later, you could no longer even see the top of the tent. It was completely buried in the water. And we had to march the entire prospector set at North Beach up the beach in stages of about 3 feet at a time. I think they did that 2 or 3 times because the water level kept coming up.
Oh, no.
Golden Ears was a massive challenge for our set tech department and our locations departments and our crew, just with the scope. But we got such beautiful stuff there. You're shooting a show in winter. I remember there were early discussions about grit, and they were worried about grit. And at one point it was just like, hey, we're shooting an unforgiving time period in the winter. Grit's baked in. If anything, we're going to have to be careful how much grit, because it's still hallmark.
I could talk to you about this for hours because it is so interesting. I mean, I remember Brian Bird telling us it is really looking different. You know, what we're seeing of 1817 look, and it is gritty. And
but the cast
I just think it's phenomenal. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it starts. I mean, the crew you expect. All of us have, as crew, have worked in these conditions forever. We're used to it. The mud, the wet, the rain, and we're geared to a certain extent for it. It's much more difficult for doing the job. I mean, and rain is going in an hour to your day, but for the cast are buying in. They're not going to be properly clothed regardless of the conditions until we get them off camera, and then we can throw a coat on them. But even that is a bit of a trap because then you're hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. It's better to try and maintain at least stay in it while you're in it and then warm up. And that's not always comfortable. I mean, there's a scene where we've already seen where Ben approaches Rebecca, or Tom approaches Rebecca and her daughter sleeping in the tent on his land, and he's concerned for them because it's pouring freaking rain. And in true style, when they script rain, it's not going to rain. So we get great big rain towers in. So we are dumping a water truck of rain on this guy as he wanders in. And he has to do this 5 times because, well, the lighting's not right the first time, and the rain's too heavy the second time. And I mean, he's just stepping. It's nighttime, it's winter, it's freezing, and now we're adding a torrential downpour on him. And he just muscles in all 5 times until they say, okay, we got it. That looked great. They were all like that. Joy fumbling around with that great big heavy plowing in that field.
Yes.
I mean, she rehearsed for that. We put a great deal of thought into that. But still, the actress has to pull it off. It's a very unwieldy situation.
Yeah, the teasers that we've seen of those scenes are amazing.
They all just dove in, fearlessly dove in.
Yeah.
And showed tremendous perseverance regardless of the weather conditions that they were called upon to be in the moment in. They were always in the moment. Yeah, it was wonderful to watch it all take form. World buildings, I mean, when you get to the end and you start seeing how beautifully it all came together, it's something that I remember sending a note to our crew, both in the chat, and I put it on my Facebook saying, please take a moment and enjoy what you've created here, because you've created this really beautiful multi-layered thing. Everybody, cast, set deck, hair, makeup, Costumes, God, Barbara's costumes are amazing. The cast looks amazing. They're just everybody, effects, camera, grip and lighting. I mean, it's a different sort of lighting and it's shot differently than When Calls the Heart is.
Yeah.
Everybody added a layer of authenticity and creative beauty to this grand construct of world building that just looked so amazing. There were so many times we were sitting in the chair in Village as a shot is progressing, and we're just like, wow.
Then on top of it, to think about the turnaround for post-production, because this show came literally the same weekend as the finale. I have no idea how you guys pulled all this off.
It's not like what we deliver from set just, goes into editing and they bang out a cut and there's the cut. There's like stages and stages and stages of work. There's ADR for pieces that don't work. And when you're shooting something like 1874 with wagons in the background and horses running and lots of times rain hitting diffusion or cover overhead that you can't see that's out of camera, but making a ton of noise. There's a lot of ADR, a lot of cleaning up dialogue, a lot of pieces. So while we were shooting, we had to have a mobile ADR unit out to set a few times so that they could keep up with the ADR for post. Then there's VFX. So they have a VFX list, and literally a lot of times you'll wait until you get like a cut, and then you'll source out, these are the VFX we need for this then you're not spending money on getting VFX done for pieces, say, that maybe you're not going to use in your final edit. In this case, as soon as the dailies are in, we're sending pieces out for VFX so that they can get prompted and place held. Heather Nevin is very good. Our post associate producer is very good at what she does. And Vicky and Greg are also very good at it. So they really, and Trisha Leslie, who is the post coordinator, they did an amazing job with the editing team. Of really threading a miraculous needle to make delivery.
Well, thanks for telling us all about Golden Ears and the Prospectors Camp. That was awesome. We're also very interested in the saloon and the plant-covered facade and the plants in the interior of the saloon. That's so cool. Can you tell us about the build and the set decor on that?
The town underwent an amazing transformation, and our paint and our set deck and our construction departments pulled off, again, a miracle. We had to have those sets built, literally built, ready to shoot, especially the trading post, which was a full build, and the false front for the boarding house, which is a match to the saloon structure, built up in our meadow. So all of the exterior boarding house work is done up in the meadow near the trading post, and then all of the interior boarding house is shot in the saloon. It's what we call A side, B side. But they had a massive amount of work to change these sets over so that they felt different. They also took the gable off the church, and we surrounded the church with decking and turned it into the Tom Moore Ranch House. That was a brilliant configuration, but a ton of work to have these sets ready, because we started prep on November 3rd. And we're in the wind by the 20th of December. And then we're back January 6th. Those sets had to be ready by January 12th. They were ready under the gun. The boarding house itself, so we can't build permanent buildings on the property because it's agricultural land. And even with special permits, we're still not allowed to build what are called permanent structures. So they found an ingenious way after we graded the ground, because it's a bit of a swamp, created at least a foundation to put temporary buildings on. And then instead of driving concrete pilings or pouring a foundation, they took basically telephone poles 8 feet into the ground, and then they put the foundation, the framing for the foundation, on that. And these buildings aren't going anywhere. The boarding house is built on 2 stacked sets of sea cans with the facade on the outside of it. And then in the saloon, we basically gutted it, made a bunch of holes in the floor, and we took down for the Tom Ranch House. There's a big brambleberry bush that used to be on the edge of the church, and we took brambleberry down all over the place to create some of our wilderness areas so that we could do the journey portion of the 1874. But we kept it all because we knew we'd be doing dilapidated boarding house. So that all got draped by our greens department very artistically
Wow.
on the
So
exterior
cool.
of the building
Yeah.
and the interior of the saloon. And we had phases from the very early on. We went to Alfonso and we said, look, we need to know what phases this is going through because each phase like it went from a dilapidated, dirty looking, draped in stuff. And then she got it cleaned up a bit, and all of that disappeared. And we were fixing holes, and the
Right.
walls were clean, but the colors were bad. And then that got fixed up a bit, and now we have window treatments, and we have, a little bit of furniture, and the holes are all fixed. And now all of a sudden we have paint and window trim, piece by piece by piece, block by block. There was a pre-planned progression for the boarding house to get where it needed to by the end of the season. And the departments worked seamlessly, brilliantly on that. And you'd never know it because if you were to walk back in there to on Friday of last week, it's the saloon again. And the church is the
Wow.
church again. All
Wow.
painted back,
Mhm.
gable restored, and everything that we need to take 1874 up next year is up in the meadow, sleeping until we uncover it, hopefully next December. Just
I
put it all
like
back.
the way you think, Mike Magnusson, that
Yeah,
1874
exactly.
is coming back next year
It's
and
Yeah.
good.
and
I
the
see
year
no
after
reason.
that.
I
Yeah.
really hope it comes back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just good.
it
Cast did an
is.
amazing job. Alfonso's a really good writer. The stories are fun. It's got a tremendous arc. And oh my God, the cliffhanger. Like when you see where they
Oh,
leave off the season, they have to have a season two. I'm sorry, they just have to.
Well, I think it's
You
a
have to
pretty
at
good
least write it. I need
sign.
to know what happens.
We need to know too, Michael. And
I'm
it's a good
intrigued.
it's
I
a
don't think
very
we knew
good
it was a cliffhanger.
we didn't know. It is a very good sign, obviously, that Hallmark is inviting them to do an evening with us at our Hearties family reunion. So we expect that we'll see some more seasons of 1874. But is there anything that we should look out for other than the cliffhanger, which, always is fun for you guys to deliver, but is there something in particular that your team has delivered in the coming 5 episodes that we have that you want us to be looking for?
Well, I can't give anything away.
Okay.
There is so much to look for. I mean, we're just through the first 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
That's the journey. That's
Okay.
everybody's introduced. You're setting the geography. You're establishing who the roles are, and who you're learning about the world. That is kind of done now, and
Mhm.
and now you're on this journey of the characters and the characters who you know who they are, and really exciting stuff happens. And it's just such a different world. Like we have oh boy, like the stories I could tell about some of the cattle stuff and chickens.
Oh, the cat.
Um
We need a whole
and
show on the cattle and the chickens
yeah,
alone. Yeah.
yeah.
All the goats
Our
and the
Wranglers did an
yeah.
amazing job. It's got a lot of life. The show has a lot of life and beautiful sets. There's beautiful sets you haven't seen yet still coming. So yes, it's they
Oh.
did an
Seems like a lot
amazing
to
job.
come. Yeah.
Oh. Yes. All right. Well, it's neat. It's cool to see you light up when you talk about it because we're lighting up. I think it's lighting up the Hardy sphere in we go from the hangover of season 13 and so many things that we were looking forward to, and it's given us a little. And I have to give a shout out to our admin team too, because though it is just a small portion of work compared to what you guys have done, our work didn't end either. Like we
No?
just went straight from season 13
Yep.
into really explaining to people what Hallmark Plus was and how you could access it if you couldn't afford it. And the education that our team has done with people
Thank you
to
for
get
that.
them over there has really been extraordinary. So,
Yeah.
yeah, shout outs all around.
Thank you very much for that.
We have our 10th HFR coming up, the 10th time we have offered it, many of which have been with you, Mike. And so I just wonder how in the world we're going to outdo ourselves. And if you were speaking to Hearties that have never attended before, Mike, what you would say to them about the very special set day that we get to spend with you in Hope Valley.
well, it's not just with me. I mean, Patty Richardson, Bird is a phenomenon in putting this whole thing together and touching all the little, beats. Uh, and then there's this really bubbly group of invested volunteers who show up. And the town, I mean, the
I'm
town
glad you
takes
find us
on a life of
bubbly at
its
that
own.
point. I'm glad you
Oh, I
find
know
us
you guys are exhausted because I mean, it's like being tour directors. It's work. It's a lot of work. 300 people in transit, running them from one thing to another. It's a very, very busy weekend. But it's put together brilliantly, and the town really comes to life that day. We have background we have, marching bands and Mounties and even current day RCMP. Uh, and the fact that HFR happens while the sets are dressed. I still remember my first day walking on to into Hope Valley as a first assistant director and walking into sets like the Mercantile and the Infirmary, where you are surrounded with a nostalgia that makes it, this is not a the Mercantile is the modern day convenience store, but you are stepping back in time. And that to be able to come and see this world that perhaps you've only seen on television and actually wander through it and have it, not just be a collection of false walls and sets and corners
Yeah,
and things, but it's a
exactly.
live, breathing
Right.
town, still, with its best clothes on, everything dressed up, everything looking good. I mean, you should see how we find it when we come. Right, even if we left it now, because we didn't shoot the town on 1874. A town, it takes a lot of work to take the town up and make it look beautiful every year. So it's really great that the Hearties get to share in it at its best, uh, uh, and have access to everything. I mean, there's certainly some areas that are off limits just for safety, but you can wander to the Kissing Bridge and you can go into all the sets and you can, look at all the minutia. And we even go so far as to make sure that we're not leaving anything up that's going to blow the next season for you.
Yes, you
So
do.
you'll
You're
find
very
Easter eggs
careful.
from past seasons sometimes in place of, something that perhaps might give away the goose for this year.
Yeah, it's fun. You get to walk in and see the pickled eggs
Yeah.
there at the Mercantile, the whole thing. But I also think it's special for Hardee's to get to meet you, Mike. You're there on set. Last year, Andrew, our cinematographer, was there.
Yeah.
Sarah Maberly drops
Yeah.
by. Richard's there with the cars. It's just, the faces that we get to place with the names, these giants over 13 seasons that have made this show possible behind the scenes. It's an opportunity
Yeah.
for them to get to chat with you.
It's
And
fun. I love meeting the Hardys. The Hardys are also part of what makes it wonderful. They're just such an amazing group.
it is, it is.
Mm.
So, Mike, thank you for your time, especially on your last day.
Oh, my
Yes, thank
pleasure.
you so
Oh my
much.
gosh, I'm so excited for you to have some time off.
I'm
Um,
looking forward to it.
oh my
I'm,
gosh.
I'm looking forward to
Okay.
coming back too. I mean, I've been very, very fortunate. When Calls the Heart and 1874 are really special shows. Both of these casts and crews have developed into a family and watched out for one another and helped each other struggle through to success. And each show had challenges. I mean, it's not like When Calls the Heart was easy. We went up on a water tower and we did fire stuff, and I mean, we made
No.
jam like you wouldn't believe. Uh, the both shows were had challenging seasons, but yeah,
Mhm.
1874 is kind of special because it's world building, and we've now built that wheel, and that always feels special. So
All right. Well, thank you again, Mike. Enjoy your time off. And I feel like we could probably talk to you for another 2 hours about all this fun stuff, but we're just going to enjoy the spoils of what you've created over the next several weeks. And
thank you very much.
thanks for
It's a
everything.
team effort. There are so many wonderfully intelligent, creative, determined, heroic people involved in all of this, behind and in front of the camera. I'm just really privileged to be part of it.
Nice. Well, I'm glad they have such a strong leader. So,
Thanks.
Hearties, we're blessed that you keep tuning in, and we want to know what you're fascinated by, either the logistics, the moments in season 13 that really grabbed your heart or your attention, and the things that are just like sparkling and emerging from this new show 1874 amid the grit and the mud is an awfully amazing storytelling going on. So comment below, continue to subscribe and follow us because we have more coming from 1874. We've got When Hope Calls. We're going to be talking to some of their stars as well. So we'll see you next time on Heart to Hearties.